Welcome to Missed Checkpoints, the Video Game Book Club podcast. Today we're starting a discussion on Into the Breach. I'm your host Marcus, and joining me today as always are the homies. First up we have Greg.
What's up?
And last but not least we got the homie Trevor.
Just a warning, if you hear me scream over here, it's probably because I burnt my tongue on this hot tea.
What?
just letting you know now. Like, I made it so I could drink it during the podcast, but I didn't have enough time to let it cool, so...
Oh, baby. Alright, well, hopefully you can drink that safely. But let's get into it. This is I'm very, very, very excited for this game. This is my choice for the month of November. So I'm going to kick us off. It's a little lengthy. I was excited. Into the Breach is a turn-based strategy game developed and published by indie studio Subset Games. Subset Games was founded in Shanghai by Justin Ma and Matthew Davis, both formerly 2K China employees. This is their second title. Their first title, FTL, or Faster Than Light, was a hardcore roguelike where players try to guide a spaceship back to headquarters. FTL released in September 2012 and was a massive success. It was considered one of the major successful video game Kickstarter campaigns when in the spring of 2012, riding on the coattails of the highly successful Double Fine Adventure Kickstarter, they were able to raise $200,000, which they were trying to get. Their funding goal was 10K, so they raised over 2,000% over the requested budget. The massive success of FTL was unexpected and led to developing free DLC for the game about 18 months later. So development for Into the Breach started after they were finished. Their commitments to FTL were completed, and it started in mid-2015. Davis and Ma tried various prototypes for a game, including one for a grid-based tactical system, something they recognized was resurging in the video game industry due to the success of the 2012 release XCOM Enemy Unknown. They liked the idea and recognized that they needed a hook to differentiate their game from XCOM. Into the Breach became a response to films like Man of Steel and Pacific Rim. According to Ma, the whole city gets demolished, but no one cares because the good guys won. They set out to make a game focusing on the impact of collateral damage. Battles took place between player-controlled giant mechs and CPU-controlled giant insect aliens, collectively called the Vec. Mountains could be torn down, forests burned, and buildings flattened. Defending buildings and other structures would become a priority than just winning a battle. To emphasize this in gameplay, they included a mechanic that mechs were powered from local power nodes in the buildings, so that if these buildings were destroyed, they may not be able to power the mechs. This created tough decisions for players, such as whether to destroy a building to get a short-term advantage in battle, or to prevent a catastrophe to a large number of buildings. To further emphasize players needed to care for these buildings, I don't know how to say his name. It's either Chris Avalon or Chris Avalone. His story was written to remind players that as they fight mechs, people were cowering for safety in these buildings, as well as cheering on the mechs, and that they were used to create an emotional impact when these people were killed when a building is destroyed and you visibly see your civilian saved number dwindling. In contrast to XCOM, where a simple battle may take up to an hour to complete all the objectives, Subset wanted each battle to be relatively short in terms of gameplay time. A limited turn counter was used to keep battles short, and Subset found that telegraphing the enemy's movement further hastened the pace. Lastly, they developed scenarios and situations that required the player to devise new strategies on the fly, which they anticipated that players would build upon in later parts of the game. The player controls 3 different mechs equipped with a variety of weapons, armor, and equipment. In combat, you're given an objective for the map, along with a fixed number of turns to complete the objective or objectives. The principal goal for any map is to protect civilian structures which support the power grid that supports the mechs, but there are additional objectives on each map. Should a civilian structure get damaged or destroyed, the power grid is weakened. On each turn, the enemy Vec forces move across the board and attack. The player is shown the direction of the Vec's units' intended targets, their health, any sort of status effects, and the turn order. On the player's turn, they have the ability to move each mech and fire weapons in order to either defeat the Vec unit, push it off its line of attack, avoid an attack, intercept newly emerging Vex, or any number of other actions. Mechs can only take a limited amount of damage before becoming inoperable. Pilots of mech gain experience points as you defeat Vec, which in turn can be used to further unlock and upgrade new skills for the mech that they are piloting. The gameplay of Into the Breach has been compared to that of the ultimate game, chess, as it is less about overpowering the opposing forces and instead about maintaining positional control and sometimes sacrificing units to gain a larger advantage. The game was released for Windows in February 2018 and later on macOS and Switch in August of 2018. And just this year, it came out on Linux in April, and this past September, there was a Switch version in Japan that was released. It received praise upon its release and currently holds a 90 out of 100 on Metacritic. It was the site's best reviewed PC game for 2018. It's lauded for its simple but strategic gameplay, high difficulty, art style, and soundtrack. And just to, I guess, keep this, since we all, listen to Giant Bomb, it was runner-up for Best Debut and Game of the Year in their 2018 Game of the Year Awards. And that is my introduction. It was a lot.
You mentioned all the games I was going to mention.
A word? Chess?
I think it was like
XCOM, FTL?
FTL, and there was one you didn't mention.
What was that?
Advance Wars.
Oh, yeah, we were going to mention it in this discussion. That's
yeah. I mean, I guess we have to since we played it.
Yeah, we're going to have to. So, like I said, this is, for me, this is like a forever game. Like, I'm a huge fan of Subset. Like, both FTL and Into the Breach are two of my favorite games of all time. Before we started this, I had about 30 hours on PC version of Into the Breach, and I actually started playing this game in October because I had mixed our months up. So I had started playing this game way back in October, thinking it was an October game. But since then, I got this game on Switch, and I put when I checked earlier today, I have 70 hours in this game.
Wow.
On just Switch, so between the two versions, I have 100 hours. So ask me anything about Into the Breach. This is, I'm super excited. Let's get into it. What did you guys play this on?
I played on PC.
Played on Switch.
Okay. How did you like the Switch version?
It's nice. It's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize until maybe about halfway into my playthrough, I played about 15 hours, according to my Switch. I played, or I guess more than 15 hours, but about halfway through I realized, oh yeah, there's touch controls. And so I didn't really get around to using those, but everything else, as far as like the control schemes, I didn't have to go into the menu to change anything. Everything felt comfortable.
Yeah, when I started playing this on Switch, I didn't like it, and I was like, I can't get used to playing this. But after a while, I think I got used to it. And I think I actually prefer it because it is so. Like, it's so easy to kind of pick up and play this game and knock out a couple of maps and, like, go about your day.
Yeah.
That, I was like, how did I used to play this on PC? Because I'm never at my PC for, 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. Like, when I sit down on my PC, I'm like, I plan on chalking out at least 2 hours of time, and so I was playing this obviously with 70 hours, I was playing this all the time on my Switch, where I could be like, I'm in the middle of a, conference call or whatever, and I just need to half listen, or, we're about to go walk the dog, my wife's getting dressed or whatever, I can knock out a map or two. Like, it was just it was a revelation.
I'll also say another reason why I'm glad I played it on Switch is because when I actually got into a groove in this game, I was up till about 1 o'clock in the morning playing.
Yeah, and you don't want to be doing that, sitting behind a computer.
Yeah, I could play it in bed.
Did you have any regrets, Greg?
Yeah, I mean it's more of like a personal gripe because I don't have like a Switch or whatever. But like, yeah, I definitely would have spent more time with it if it was on like a portable console or something like that. Like even if it was available like just on phones, right? Like feasibly I could see how it would be on there. I don't know what limitations they would run into putting it on a phone, but yeah, I mean if it was like on a mobile devices, like
yeah, because I think I played FTL on iPad.
FTL is on iPad, but like FTL came out, like I said, 2012, I think, and so like it's been supported a lot.
Yeah.
And I like my hope for this game. This game is only like a 2-year-old game. I don't know if they've announced another game yet. So I'm like hopeful that this game continues to get support, whether it be additional content or even just porting it on more more systems. Because I think FTL, I think you can play it on a browser too. At this point, it's I'm pretty sure you can.
Well, they do say that. I'm looking on the Wikipedia for End of the Breach. It says it's coming to Stadia on December 1st. So,
hey, there you go. Yeah, and it's only a two-man team. Hold up, these dogs.
but also I ended up getting a Switch as a Christmas gift for my kids. So now I can actually start playing Switch games. So.
You mean you got a Switch? No, you said it right. You said it right. I think that's basically the same thing I did with my Switch. It's technically for my daughter, but she's 2, so
yeah.
She likes watching games on it. She didn't really watch Into the Breach.
Not her type of thing, huh?
No, and at first I didn't think it was going to be my type of thing because you probably remember our discussion on Advance Wars.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of dreading the idea of going back to another turn-based strategy game.
Well, that's fair enough.
But,
I mean, what was the difference between this and Advance Wars for you?
This game was fun.
Well, there you go.
Advance Wars was...
I'm trying to even remember I did like Advance Wars, but I'm just trying to think back to like any issues.
It seemed more like a chore to play Advance Wars.
I could.
I mean, I did enjoy it because I do like turn-based strategy games. I did enjoy it up to a point, and that was when I think I got into one of the the optional missions, where like if you get a certain rank on a mission, it gives you the a more difficult one, and you can't skip it. I think that's where I got stuck, and it kind of turned me off to the game.
Oh yeah,
that and the Fog of War. But this game here, like, it feels more accessible.
Right. I guess the only issue I really ran into with this game was when I play strategy games, I feel like I need to do everything perfectly. Like, I don't know if that's just me. And I feel like with this game, it's made in a way where you're not always going to have the perfect option. Sometimes you're going to have to make a sacrifice, and whether you want to take damage or potentially lose a unit or something. But yeah, I feel like it's very difficult to always just have like a perfect playthrough in this game. And
you learn from it too, like because they give you like on every time you start up a like each battle, I guess, not necessarily the entire island, but each battle gives you a kind of a redo button.
Yeah.
And I guess we should probably explain like the gameplay first before we go into all those mechanics.
My bad. These dogs are like wrestling here. It's like when your mom is off talking to her friend, you're like wrestling with your brother or whatever, and then she just hears the thunk, and then she just comes and that was me right now with these 2 dogs. So I heard you guys talking about Advance Wars.
Yeah.
And that actually was one of the questions that I had, where it was like, what is it about this game that you guys felt like you liked more or less than Advance Wars, and I know the Fog of War thing was a big deal. I know for me and you, Trevor.
Yeah.
The one of the things that I really appreciate about this game, and I am with you, Greg. Like I want to know everything, and being able to see the entire field and know exactly like this enemy is going to attack here, this enemy is going to attack here. So it feels like you can kind of plot out, and it literally does feel like you're playing chess in a way, where that I didn't get that feeling when I was playing Advance Wars. I felt like sometimes I had to react to something that I didn't see coming, or it's like I'm a very cautious person, especially when I'm playing like kind of video games that I'm not familiar with. So like I wasn't like, I'm gonna go send my dude all the way through this Fog of War or whatever. Like a lot of times I'd get to the edge and I kind of post up for like a turn or two. And so that was one of the things that I really do appreciate about this game. But I'm also with you where it's like I had to teach myself playing this game that like it's okay, like you're not gonna have a perfect run. And
even like my 12 hours in, I still felt like I just felt bad for just messing up, you know what I mean? Like I still would just kind of be like, oh. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
When you say messing up, what do you mean, like losing a building, or do you mean like losing
just even
a
losing buildings? Like sometimes I knew it was like, well, there was no other choice here other than I would just have to let the building, lose a building or whatever. Or sometimes, like intentionally damaging other units to try and doing stuff like that. It's just like I feel so bad about doing this, but like I can't really think of another way of going about it,
Yeah. Like one of my favorite things is watching, like when this game first came out, there was people streaming it or whatever, and watching people play this game and seeing them do things and it's in like a way that's different than how I play was like super like eye opening, because it was like, oh snaps, like this is how they're using these two mechs to work together, and I use them in a completely different way, or I use them kind of independently, and like now I'm starting to see the synergy around why this squad is the way the squad is.
Yeah, that'd probably be interesting. I should have watched some other people play it, because my method for playing this game is super slow.
Mm-hmm.
Like
methodical.
I have to map out every single move. I have to know exactly, like, okay, if I hit this enemy here, they're gonna attack and push me this way, and then I was constantly looking back at the turn order.
Yep. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing the game. Like, there's so many different ways you can play the game that definitely works. And I think that is like, you are learning the game by doing that. Like the fact that you went through that process and were like looking at the turn order and being methodical meant that you were trying to like learn the systems. And that was like one of the things I like about subset games, and the reason why I chose Into the Breach beyond just it being, in my opinion, like the evolution of Advance Wars, and like I was interested to see how you guys felt about this game, was that I wanted to play a game that was pretty systems heavy, where a lot of different components are working together. So, like kind of like you have to pay attention to like the buildings, you have to pay attention to your mech's life, you need to know how your guys' equipment and weapons work together, you need to be able to you have to make sure that you're leveling up your grid defense, you need to make sure that you're leveling up your mech, you need to make sure that you're getting experience for these different mechs, and all that stuff. And I feel like this game is like, it's so
there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and the thing that I like about it is it seems so inviting, though, because it's like, it doesn't, the game looks very, I don't want to say like kiddie, but it looks very like soft. It doesn't look like a hard game. It looks like it's like,
it looks like Advance Wars. It has that kind of same feel.
But I feel like this game is more difficult than Advance Wars.
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as the look, like, you know, you can only have, like, even, like, games like the older Final Fantasy games, when they make the sprites for each character, you know, they look a little bit more cartoonish. And, I think that's how this game is translated over, but, you know, along with the interface and the music, it gives it a more, not necessarily adult feel, but a more mature feel.
I mean, not only that too, but it's even just like you're one of the things that I like when this game first came out that I never even took and realized was like, when you go to each island, you're talking to a head of corporation, and they're basically saying like, "We need you here in order to like kind of save our company." Mm-hmm. And it was like, there's also that going on, you know, like it's really like I said with the writing and like how when you're doing attacks and stuff, your pilots have like their banter between themselves, mm-hmm. and then you can also see like little dialogue bubbles popping up out of buildings when they're cheering you on, or like, you know, like talking like the civilians are talking trash to the vet or whatever. It's just like there's so much, like it's like the perfect amount of detail, like yeah. Even like when you I don't know if you guys saw, but like the background of the grid, like the background of the screen, is like it just says warning, 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 just repeated over and over again. And then when the Vec attack a building and it resists, it flashes to green and everything says resisted, and then it goes back to like I really just I love this game. And even just like the different status effects, and like when they have those like specific I think they're called the Scion mechs, mm-hmm. or Vex, the little balloon looking ones that don't attack but they do some type of status effect for all the enemies on the screen, and like how those change up the gameplay. If it's like, oh, like if I kill an enemy now with this guy on here, it's going to cause explosive damage, or if I kill this guy now, they have one hit of armor now, so I have to do more. I'm not going to be able to kill him in one attack like I used to be able to. And then even just like the fire, the way that interacted, and the ice, and the poison. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's set up, I guess, the gameplay.
Sure.
That way we can get a little bit deeper into the mechanics.
Sure. So, basically, when you start off, you choose a 3-mech squad. Each of these squads, I think when you first start, you only have access to one, and it's a pretty kind of, I don't want to say generic, but it's a good beginner squad because it teaches you some of the important introductory like mechanics of the game. So it teaches you about damage, it teaches you about moving mechs, and like being able to like attack something, not necessarily for damage, but pushing it in a specific direction. And also you're you know having to play around the buildings, because I think at that point you learn that, oh, if I hit a building, or if I hit something into a building, the building still takes damage, and things like that. And so you start off with that kind of basic mech or basic squad, and I guess once you hop into battle, you have 4 islands to choose from. Or did you only have the 2 from the beginning?
I think you have 2 or 3 from the beginning. Actually, I think you start with 1. And then you
only get one.
Okay, so you start off. Go ahead.
Once you like clear an island, then you can start that island at the beginning.
Gotcha. So yeah, you start with I want to say it's just like the basic island. I don't really know. It has it's I feel like it's the easiest island, or the one that has like it's the most beginner friendly. The only really structures they have water in there that you can hit or you can hit Vex into water, and usually kills them once they're a flying type Vec. Or and then they have forests that when you attack an enemy that's on the forest grid, it lights it on fire, and then they start taking fire damage. What did you guys think of that first island, and like, what did you guys think of the first squad? As far as like, do you feel like it was the best squad to kind of teach you the basics?
Oh yeah, especially to learn like the pushing mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was first looking up this game, I thought it was going to be more of like a trying to think of an example. Basically, I don't know. I thought you'd be pushing like enemies all the way across the map.
Oh, more than one square.
Yeah, it was a little bit different than I thought, but this team is very balanced, especially going back to them after playing some of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the other teams feel like they lean more towards like one specific mech, like these two mechs support this one, or these two are doing a certain thing, and then this one is off, firing from a distance or just going in and out. Whereas this one here that it starts you off with, called the Rift Walkers,
Yep.
it just feels really balanced. It's more of a pushing squad. That's the main, or at least it feels
Pushing.
like.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say pushing, but also like all of them could deal out some damage.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was something that you don't recognize it when you first start. You're like, oh, this is like, I feel like it's good and it's bad, because I feel like this, like you said, it's the most balanced and it's like the best one to learn with. But I don't think it does a good job of like showing you like everything, because I know it's a huge change of pace when you unlock the second squad. It's completely different.
Yeah, I guess it initially makes you feel like the way you should play it is just kill everything versus like trying to manage it, right?
Yeah, so like so I think they're a really good beginner squad, and they have like it's three different mechs. There's a artillery mech that kind of just shoots like a mortar that pushes all the enemies in the squares beside the impact area. There's a cannon mech that just shoots in a straight line, and then there's a combat mech, which is, it basically has a punching attack. And then like later on, like if you earn enough experience and whatnot and upgrade your mechs, you can kind of like start like doing more things with your mech. So I think like the first thing with the artillery is now you can when you upgrade that, you can fire at your building and the building not take damage, but it still pushes the squares closest to it. So like sometimes there's a specific type of Vec. Vecs are the enemies, and they're all kind of like giant alien insect creatures, and they kind of like look like everyday bugs that you would see. So there's like a wasp, there's a like a beetle, there's a spider, there's a scorpion, there's some other ones, but they each have their own unique kind of attack pattern as well. So one of them is prone to kind of webbing anything that's close to it, and it can't move. So sometimes they'll do that on buildings. So like using the artillery mech to kind of shoot at the building it's webbed to push it back is a strategy. Or you can like shoot beside it and push it to the side. Like there's some strategy there. And then the upgrades for the cannon mech was just to add more damage. And then the upgrade for the combat mech was basically bionic arm. and like you could literally go, like, I think the grid, the playing field that you're on is an 8x8. Is that sound right? 8x8 or 9x9?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, it's 8x8.
So you're playing on an 8x8 grid, and so you can literally, once you upgrade the combat mech's ability, he gets a dash punch, and you can basically dash across the entire screen. And that was still like one of the most satisfying. Like every time I'm just like, you like every time, like it just is like so satisfying to do that. From like, especially if you like knock him into like water or something that's like an insta kill, and it's just so satisfying.
And I think with this squad too, since it is a little bit more balanced, none of the mechs actually like have a really high movement speed. So if you do have your combat mech over like on the opposite side of the map, and none of your other two mechs can get to an enemy, and it might be trying to take out something significant, you can use that that rocket punch or whatever it's called to fly all the way across the map.
Yeah, so it adds some mobility that you are severely lacking. And then there's other things you can upgrade to. So you can upgrade the amount of HP that your mech has. Or you can upgrade the movement speed, or like not movement speed, but the amount of squares that it can move in a turn. And then there's also, as you're getting experience killing Vec, you are getting experience for your pilot, and your pilots also have levels, I guess you could say, and they can level up twice. And each pilot has their own unique like system. So what they do is the game, you have like a special mech, or not mech, a special pilot who is like a named character that has like a portrait, and they have like some type of special ability. So there are, I want to say, about 12 different pilots, and each of them have their own 12 different unique pilots, and each of them have their own unique ability. So there's one pilot that he has an extra hit of armor in whatever mech he's in. There's another pilot that starts off with a shield. There's a pilot that doesn't get webbed. There's a pilot that after you do an attack, you can move another turn. There's a pilot that if you don't move on your turn, you can do 2 attacks in a row. And then there's also like, just kind of the generic pilots, who those are unnamed. They're named, but they're like faceless. You don't get to see what they look like. They're usually wearing some type of visor or helmet, kind of like Carmine from Gears of War. They don't have the unique ability, but they still can be leveled up twice. And like leveling up does things like you can get an extra point to upgrade your mech. You can get additional defense to your grid defense. You can get an extra movement speed. You can get extra HP. So it just depends on the pilot that you're using. And it always kind of like it wasn't an issue with the first mech because it's pretty, or the first squad because it's pretty balanced. But did you guys ever run into a problem where you're like, I leveled up these 2 pilots, but like this pilot's in a mech that doesn't do any damage, and it's just like super hard to level it up?
Yeah, there's one that actually there's a couple of units. There's one that's like it has the grappling hook, right? Where
yeah.
It's like I don't really find very many opportunities to like level that up.
Get a kill.
Yeah. And there's another one too. I'm trying to remember. I think it's one that you can push enemies with. That one is the same deal. But I guess actually no. There's 2. There's one that you can pull them to you, but it doesn't do any damage, and there's one that you can also pull them into you and do damage that way. But yeah, that one was a little bit easier because sometimes I would just take the hit and try and finish off enemies that way.
So my 2 favorite pilots. Let me see. I'm looking at them now. One was Ghana. Basically, you can deploy anywhere on the map, and then it damages adjacent enemies.
Yeah, you get that free damage. And
then the other one was Archimedes, where you can move again after you use your weapon.
So yeah, I guess we can kind of talk a little bit about the combat too, where somebody like Archimedes is useful because the way your turn works or the way combat works is you place your enemy, or you place your mechs on the map, and there's usually like a designated area, like back line, kind of close to the buildings that you set up, and then the Vec set up on the other side of the field. And then the turn starts, and they all move into position, the Vec, and then it's your turn, and you have an opportunity to kind of counter what they're doing. So they may be attacking buildings, they may be attacking whatever you have to defend, they may be attacking your mechs, or they could just be positioning, and you set your mechs, or you do your turn, and you do your actions, and like after that, the turn ends. The Vec do what they're supposed to do, their actions, and then they do another. That turn ends, and then the next turn starts. The Vec move and set their actions, and then that's the back and forth. So each mech they can only do one attack per turn. So somebody like an Archimedes is really cool because I think you can move, attack, and then move again, right?
Yeah.
Trevor? Mm-hmm. So normally the way it works is once you move, then you attack and your turn with that mech is over. But like that pilot is useful because you can literally move your 4 squares, do an attack, and then move 4 more squares. You can kind of get in, do damage, and then get out. So it's very useful for that. And there's a ton of different pilots that like help with that, where like I said, there's the one where if you don't move on your turn, you get 2 attacks. So you could literally, like, if you're like the cannon in the cannon mech with that pilot, you could literally shoot an enemy twice for like 2 damage each, and like you're doing a decent amount of damage on a single turn.
Which pilot was that? I don't think I got that one.
That pilot was Silica.
Yeah, I didn't get that one. I
But you have
about half of them.
Gotcha. It was another one of those robot-looking pilots. But yeah, there's a lot of variety between the different pilots too, because they're all useful and they all, like, I actually saw it today or yesterday, but there's like a tier list of like, this is the pilot that, like, this is the best pilot for this squad, or this is the best pilot for this particular mech, and things like that too. So like it's really kind of cool to see that, because it's not like, oh, this pilot is, only good with this particular mech. Like some of these pilots are like useful across different mechs and all that. What else am I?
Just something random I was thinking. I guess it was kind of weird to me for a strategy game because I'm always used to the player turn first rather than it being like enemy turn. So that was kind of like off-putting at first, being like, oh, well, they get to move first versus, I feel like every other strategy game I played isn't like that.
And it's actually something I really like about this game, because it's like the computer is setting up a puzzle for you.
Yeah.
And it's saying, here's the scenario, figure out the solution. And it feels like there's always a better solution, like where you can end it and you don't take any damage, all of your units are safe, and then it puts you in a position to, prepare for the next attack.
Yeah. It's. I'm so glad you said that. Yes, it is. It is like. It's like Advanced Wars crossed with Baba Is You almost, where there's like a logic to each individual squad, where it's like this squad interacts this way. And going into each map what exactly your squad can do. But you may not know what the types of enemies you're going to fight. You may not know how they are going to position themselves on the map. But you can only interact with them in a specific way. Otherwise, there's consequences if you try to break how you're supposed to be playing the squad. And I think that the game also is just so, and I don't know if you guys experienced this, because you guys both played on easy, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys end up bumping it up to normal, or?
I did a couple times, yeah. Just to try, because once I started unlocking other squads and getting a better idea how to play it, I would just go up, and if it was just still too frustrating or whatever, I'd bump it down just to try and unlock some more stuff.
And yeah, like I specifically had told you guys to probably start the game on easy, not as a knock, but as a way to unlock some squads and just get a feel for the game, and then you could bump it up to normal, because I felt like if you were going to be trying the game on normal, trying to learn it, and not making any progress unlocking any squads, you guys were going to stick with the game too long.
Yeah, and that was my problem when I started. I was on normal, and I didn't know how to play the game. Mm-hmm. And by that, I mean I knew how to set up my units. I knew how to tell them, what to do and what skills they had. But as far as what you did outside of combat, I had no idea what I was doing, and apparently I wasn't completing the optional objectives, which is really significant when it comes to upgrading your mechs and your pilots. And
Yes.
I wasn't doing any of that, and so I wasn't getting any of the achievements to get coins to unlock the next squad, and so it felt like I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't moving at all playing this game.
We had a 30-minute chat.
Yeah, I was like, man, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not progressing?
Yeah, so I was glad that could help you. I could help you out because I definitely could see, because like when I first started playing this game, I was in the same boat as you guys, where like I was playing on normal, and I was just like, it's cool, but this game is like, I don't like it's kind of hard. And then when I dropped it down, and kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it was just like, I'm over this squad. Like I want to see what else is available. And I dropped it down to easy, and I was able to like kind of build up get the building blocks for the basics that you need to know in this game. Positioning and like the attack and being able to push enemies and kind of things like that. And it also gave me like the fundamentals to play each of the squads. So like I may not play the squads the way they are designed to be played 100%, but like I knew enough of the fundamentals where I could pick up a squad and kind of like, it's almost like when you're playing fighting games, Greg, and you're like, I've never played this character, but I've seen enough other people play this character, and I have enough experience playing this game now that I can kind of know what I need to do with this squad just based off of looking at their moveset.
Yeah.
And I feel like playing this game on easy is, like I said, a good way of unlocking squads and kind of building up your fundamentals. Because I know that, like I said, I had played this game 30 hours on PC way back, and I don't think I did a lot of it on normal because I just wasn't good enough. And I told myself when I started this game for the podcast on my Switch, I was like, I'm not playing on easy. I'm going to play on normal because I want to get better at this game. So like when I first was playing, I was like maybe winning 10% of the time. But I was kind of just focused on unlocking achievements and everything on the Switch version. But like I was learning as I was progressing, and I was like, oh, this is something that I'm learning on normal that I didn't know on easy because it wasn't important. This is something I learned on normal, like positioning became way more important on normal than it did on easy mode. Just like interacting, because like you're not only dealing with more enemies, but they also have more life. And so I don't want to say that the AI is smarter. It's just like now instead of it being a 3-on-3 fight, it's like a 3-on-6, or like 3-on-5, 3-on-6. I remember telling you guys at one point I was playing on a boss level. I had like every time an enemy appears and sets their turn, you hear a little ding, and it gets higher and higher after each turn. And I heard tones that I had never heard before, because there was literally like at one point there was 12 enemies on the screen. And like I had never gotten the double digits of enemies before. And it was just like, oh, I'm screwed.
I don't think I want that anxiety.
But it's fun though.
Like one of the ways I played, even on easy, was I would always try to end my turn blocking an enemy. Just because I was like, okay, if I've got more enemies than mechs, I'm in a bad situation. Yeah. I was like, I don't need that anxiety.
So, like, it's one of the things that I learned on, because I used to play that way on easy, but then one of the things I learned on normal was like, okay, I have like an internal, like, okay, at all times there's 3 of me. Okay, if I kill one and one emerges, we're still like nothing's changed. But I can't not kill one and then 3 more come up. Like, but then like it was just like, I'm not going to be able to kill 3 and like this is how the game works for me. It's like, okay, there's 3-on-3. Okay, I kill 2, I do damage on the 3rd one. 2 more appear, so now it's 3-on-3 again, but one is slightly damaged. I kill 2, Now there's 4 more that come up, so now it's 5-on-3, their advantage, and it's like, okay, now it's at the point where I can't hit all 5 of these people at once, so it's like, is it better for me to take damage on a mech? Is it better for this thing I'm defending to take damage? Is it better for me, can I destroy this building or like do damage to this building and kill this person and or this mech? It becomes like a weighing all the options, and like I can understand from Greg's point of view when he was saying it gave him so much, like he wanted to have a perfect run, and like you can't do that in this game if you're playing the game the way it was meant to be played, because you have to weigh all the pros and cons, and like sometimes you have to sacrifice a building in order to kill something, because if I let this thing live, it's going to get another life, bit of health, or it's going to be in a completely different part of the map, or, like all these different things that you kind of have to weigh when you're playing.
The other thing about it too, and Dante just brought this up, the rewind mechanic that it has. Mm-hmm. So by default, you get 1 rewind per battle, and that rewind is only for your turn before it actually ends. And the reason why that's important is because, like Marcus was saying, once you attack, that's the end of that mech's action. Like, you can't move anymore, and you can't retract your movement. Like, before you attack, you can place your unit somewhere else, like within your movement speed, just to see, okay, if I move here, what can I do? But once you hit that attack button, that mech is pretty much set.
Yeah.
And the only way you can go back is to use the rewind mechanic, which you only get 1 of.
And it's very clutch, because there are so many situations where it's like, literally, like, if you just change, you can do the same exact actions with your mechs, but if you just change the turn order, you have drastically different results, where it's like, oh, if I move this mech here and shoot this mech with this other one, it's going to take this damage and then get pushed into my mech and take another hit of damage, and that extra hit of damage may be the difference between killing that enemy or not. And then on top of that, it's like, oh, my mech only has 1 more hit of damage. If I do this now, that mech is dead and I lose a pilot. But if I did it before, then my mech, if I did it before I moved that other mech there, then he's still alive. And it's like so many decisions that you have to make, where it's just like, especially on like the higher difficulties, where it's like, sorry homie, you're about to have to eat that damage because I need to get rid of this. It's just like, I'm about to punch this Vec into you, you're going to take a hit of damage, but he needs to take that extra bit of damage because he needs to die. He needs to go today.
And there's even depth to like the movements, because you can actually you don't have to use your attack after you move one of your units. You can move them. You can move 1 mech and then move another mech and then attack with the first mech you moved before attacking with the second one. But again, it goes back to that rewind. Once you use your attack, any movements that you made before attacking are pretty much set in stone. You can't go back. And that comes in handy because, for instance, you could have an enemy unit that is blocking another mech, but if you use one of your mechs to kill that unit, you could then move another mech. You get a little bit more movement speed out of that one. So, like Marcus was saying, you have to look at your, I guess, your turns and actions.
Your turn order, basically. Yeah. There's too many times where, well, actually, kind of piggybacking off of that, my favorite pilot was the dude that gave you an additional reset. And that was super important for me as I was playing on normal, because I was trying to improve the game, and it was like being able to see a scenario twice. It kind of helped ingrain, like, I need to be very, very strategic in the way the order of operations. And now I I've weaned myself off of him because I no longer I feel like I'm good enough now or knowledgeable enough now that I only need one reset because I've ingrained that in my head now. So I know I need to be super careful in like planning out everything. And like now I get to the point now where it's like I try to move all my mechs into position when like because I'm like I only got one restart, so I need to like I move everybody into position, do the turns or whatever. Or, you know, like when I use a restart, I like, okay, let me run it back. I said, this person, you know, it's like those memes where it's like you helping somebody with math homework. If Timmy has 7 apples, then like, that's I'm like, if I move this mech here and this one here, I'm going to hit this guy into him. And, you know, and that's kind of how I started playing on normal after I realized like, oh, you know, like I need to like make sure I, you know, save this resource, this reset resource, because it is super important to keep. Like nothing worse than like first turn, shit, gotta use my restart.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times.
And then you got 4 more turns where you're just like, hope I don't mess up. Yeah.
So you want to talk about the other islands?
Yeah, we can talk about the other islands. So the second island you unlock is like a desert island, and the gameplay mechanic that they introduce here is like sand. And so when you attack enemies on a sand grid, it stirs up a cloud of dust, and it basically obscures vision. So anybody on that cube can't do their attack. So it works in both ways, where you can attack an enemy on a sand square, then their turn, when it's their turn, they can't do their attack. There's also an opposition if you're playing a mech that it does like I think there was one that was like a hopping mech. So when it hopped on the square, then its turn was over. And if you got like grabbed. If you hopped on a sand square, then you know you're in a sand cloud now, and then you got grabbed by a mech or by a vec that was like the webbing kind. Then you were like, oh shoot, I can't do anything because I can't. You lose your actions when you're and you can only move off of a dust clouds grid. But if you're being held, then you have to rely on one of your other mechs to move, either kill or move the vec that's holding you, so that way then you can move. And then I guess it's worth pointing out that all of these islands have water squares as well, and like I said, grounded vec, when they get knocked in the water, it's an instant kill, but flying vec, obviously they don't get affected by it. And then for you, your grounded mechs, when they get into the water, they lose their action. And but flying mechs that you have can attack over water. And then they start introducing some. I guess we can talk about objectives too, but they start introducing some different objectives, and you start to see that there's objectives specific to islands. So I think they don't really have anything super unique to the first island. But then the second island, they start introducing other objectives. So like the basic ones you start with are like kill X amount of enemies or something like that. And I think on easy it's 5. On normal I know it's 7. And I think it's 7 on hard too. But like killing whatever the designated number of enemies is. There are some that you have to defend like a specific building. And it'll have like it'll be a different art style. So like all the buildings kind of look like skyscrapers, the normal ones, but then they'll say like defend the coal plant or defend the what's another building that they have in there? The
factory.
The factory, the power stations, and those look a little bit different to like kind of designate to you to delineate that this is the special building that you need to protect. They'll have some that are like defend the train, and so like there's a train track that's going through the middle of the level, and each turn it moves two squares, so you need to make sure that you are preventing the vec from attacking the train. And then what are some other ones? Block 3 Vec from emerging. So one of the things, the way they appear is they can come out of holes in the ground. They can hop out of water as well. But the holes in the ground, they usually have like a Vec is emerging here. And it's kind of like, again, like Here's a War, where it's just like, this thing is going to come out of this specific area. So you can do things prior to them happening to prevent it from happening. So you can move a mech or a rock or an enemy and knock it on top of that grid, that square, and then it blocks the emerging Vec from coming, and it does 1 point of damage. So you can kind of use their buddies coming as an additional like bit of damage to do as well. So that adds another cool mechanic to the game. And then there's also like one of the things too is like when they come out of a square that has some type of status on it, whether it be on fire or have poison on it, they are immediately afflicted by that status as soon as they pop up, which is another like kind of strategy that you can use if you have specific types of mechs that do things like that. And then I think with the desert island as well, they start introducing these units things that you have to defend that like do things. The terraformer.
Yeah.
Did you guys? I love that. That's like my favorite objective. There's like a device in the middle of the level, and you have to defend it. And it also, what it does is it turns any type of grass near it into sand. And so there's like an objective you have to use the ability of the terraformer 4 times and turn all the grass around it into sand. And they also, like when you do that, it kind of does like an earthquake, and it kills anything on the squares in that area. And so you have to like do what you can to make sure your mechs aren't standing on those areas, and also try to position enemies onto those areas as well. So it's like a cool, like different gameplay objective. What did you guys overall think about the objectives? Like, did you think did you try to do them, and do you think that did you like them? I guess that's what I'll start with.
Yeah, I liked them. It's I don't know. I guess it's kind of not counterintuitive, but it's that thing of like, I want to get them, but it's so hard sometimes to accomplish them every time, right? Just because or at least the way I played, the way the game is, it's just you don't get those perfect runs all the time. So it's like sometimes you want to go for it, and you're just like, I'm gonna have to go ahead and take an L on this one, you know. But yeah, no, they're cool because I mean they give you an incentive, right? Because you're getting essentially currency to start upgrading your squad and stuff. So
like it's super crucial to do objectives because, as Greg said, like when you do an objective, you get a currency, whether it be reputation, which is what you use to upgrade your mechs at the end, or it's basically the currency used to purchase things, I should say, to upgrade or add new abilities to your mech. And then there's also, you get a thing called grid defense, which is basically like kind of powering up. And it kind of, this is the part where I guess it's kind of like XCOM, where like one of the things that I like about this game is you never have to worry about, and it's the same thing. This was something that a differentiation between this and Advance Wars is like there's not like numbers like a dice being rolled. It seems like, remember in Advance Wars where it's like, oh, this is like 2 damage versus a 5 damage. The 5 is going to win, and maybe it's going to lose 1 troop or something like that. Maybe you guys don't remember that.
Yeah, that was too long ago. I tried to put those memories back into.
This game is when you do an attack, it 100% of the time hits on enemies, and when an enemy does an attack on you, it 100% of the time attack or damages you. But they have this thing on buildings: when an enemy or you do damage to a building, you have a percentage of defense. And the highest I've ever personally gotten was 49%. There is a cap to how much you can get, so you can never get to 100 or whatever. But it basically is, that's the percentage chance that the building will reflect and not take any damage. So I think when you start off, no matter the squad, I think you start off at around 15 or 18%. So it's like, you know, a pretty good chance that you are going to take damage every time. But not necessarily, but like you can level it up as you're completing objectives and everything. And like I know, like I was able to get to by the end of one of my runs, I was like I said, I got it up to 49%, which is the highest I had seen it. Normally, I try to shoot for a low to mid 30s is usually what I'm around. So about a third of the time, I don't take damage, which is very crucial because, especially on the higher levels, as I said before, is you're fighting more enemies. So it becomes like there's more opportunities for the buildings to take damage, and more because you're fighting more enemies. So you have to, like, it makes sure that you're especially on your P's and Q's, and that's why it's so important, in my opinion, to get used to the game on easy, because there's no way that I would have been able to be successful on hard if I hadn't like kind of learned and gotten I gotta have a perfect run out of my system too. Because there's many times where an objective is like protect the power plants and block 3 VEC, and I'm like, oh, they're about to attack a building that's not the power plant? All right, well, ain't finna mess up my objective. I can still get that, so we're good. And there's been many times where it's just like, you know, like I would prefer them to not do any damage on any buildings, but like if I had to choose a building, it's not the one I'm supposed to protect right now, so they're gonna have to eat that because I'm trying to do this objective.
And there was one run I did where I think I got my defense percentage up to about 34, 36%. Mm-hmm. And by the time I got to the 4th island, I mean, every single attack, like whenever I would let the enemies...
It was reflected?
Yeah.
It feels so good.
I was like whew, thank you.
Exactly. I be doing the Tiger Woods, like when I have like one or two squares left,
yeah,
and I'm like, ooh, this attack's gonna kill, and then it gets reflected. I be doing the Tiger Woods fist pump. Like, yes.
Let me go ahead and start figuring out which team I want to run with next.
Yeah, man, because it just be like, man, I didn't even get to level this guy up all the way, and now I gotta end this. Yeah, oh, we reflected?
Oh, okay, yes. We still in there.
Yeah. Let's go! Yeah, so you definitely get like a little bit of the you know, chance, mm-hmm. I guess you could say, that you expect in a tactical game. And it's in that way. It's not like, oh, am I going to hit this attack? Oh, no, I didn't hit. It was 95%. What the hell? You know, like, that was something I've always heard is like a super frustrating thing.
And it's never like a negative chance. You know, it's always a positive.
Oh yeah, it's always a positive.
Like if they do hit it and you have like a really high defense percentage, then at the same time it's just like, well, you know, they caught me slipping. You know, what am I gonna do?
Exactly. Like, you ain't gonna do it again though. Let's see. Then the next island is the Ice Island. And this one was pretty cool because they introduced some other mechanics. So there's robots that set ice mines down that if enemies stand on those squares, they turn into a block of ice, and they basically lose their turn, like, for the rest of the match unless they get broken out of the ice. And then there is also I guess body of water that are covered in a sheet of ice, mm-hmm. and it takes 2 attacks on a specific square in order to break the ice, and then it becomes a normal water square. So like you're like, and then sometimes you'll go on a level that it's already a little bit cracked, so he's like, oh, I can only do 1 attack on this before it goes. So like you can kind of play around with that too, where you can kind of create little pools of water in the middle of the map when normally in levels, water is typically on the outer edges of a grid. It's fairly rare that they're in the middle of the grid. It happens, but typically they're on the outside. One of the other things too is like the random chance situations too. Some levels all islands really. There's like a specific events that sometimes happen. So I think like on the desert level, there's like a desert storm. And so sometimes, like every turn, there's like 3 or 4 squares that are designated that are going to get struck by lightning. And anything human or, mech or Vec wise, if it's in that square, it's going to get bodied. So you can kind of sometimes get random sections on a map that become death tiles as well. I think on the normal default island, sometimes there's earthquakes. And like when an earthquake happens, then like that tile just drops out. So like I said, any type of grounded mech, yours, or any grounded Vec that's standing on there is just immediately going to die. They also have like a dam on one of the levels too, where if you break the dam, it creates like a river of water in the middle of the level. And that can be really clutch too. Mm-hmm. I know on the ice, there's also on the default level, there's airstrikes. So sometimes when you go to a map, there's random airstrikes happening on that level, and then like a cross pattern, and you have to like avoid those squares. And I think on the ice one, there's like blizzards that are happening, and they'll turn anything that's within a certain 3x3 grid or 3x3 square section into just a block of ice. So it's kind of cool. When your character gets afflicted by something like ice, you have to waste a turn either attacking it with one of your mechs to break them free. They can get attacked by Vex and be broken free, or if you're as that mech, you can heal and thaw yourself. I guess you could say break yourself free of the ice. But it sometimes a lot like, especially with the ice on the ice one, it kind of teaches you like before. I think on the, I guess with the dust too. The smoke, you have to play around these squares because you can get affected by them too. Mm-hmm. Where, and it's not like a kill tile, but it's like a status tile that you have to like play around. And then the last island is like the industrial island, and they have like this toxic goo or like effect. And when you get hit by it or anybody, they take double damage. So it's kind of like the, you have to play around these pools of green like acid almost, because now this attack that used to do 2 damage now it can do 4, or this attack that used to do 4 damage now it can do 8 damage. So it makes things become super deadly. And they also introduce conveyor belts on that level too, and like those move you along whatever path is designated by the arrows. So you can kind of play around with that and make enemies miss buildings because they're further, they're moving along the conveyor belt or whatever. And they also have teleporters on the island as well. So there's a couple of different like tech related things on the industrial world. What was your favorite island, Trevor?
Probably,
and least favorite?
Probably the desert.
That was your favorite?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Least favorite.
What about it?
I like the train levels. Those are
That's
fun.
my least favorite, really? Man. I hate them.
It felt like it was a distraction for the enemies because they would always go for the train.
But that's like always an objective. So it was like, because like sometimes when you play a level where it's like defend the factory or whatever, the factory is like way off in the back and they never even like focus on it. But the train was always guaranteed that they were going to focus on it. And then the thing I don't like about it is because if you play like that first mech, like I guess it just depends, because like if you play a squad that doesn't really have like really mobile mechs, if you can't get to the other side of that train, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like if you only have one mech that can deal with attacking things on the other side, you have to do everything in your power to keep that thing in a good location that it can always protect it, and it sometimes can get really hairy really quick.
Yeah, and you can't. The other thing you have to think about with the train is the turn order, because if you leave an enemy on the tracks,
The train will run into
the
it.
train will hit it, and then you have to think about, okay, is this enemy going to attack, one of the other enemies? Because that was another one of my strategies that I like to use throughout this game, was basically trying to line up enemies to attack each other. Yeah. And there were a few times where I would do that, and it would put me in a situation where I would end up making an enemy push an enemy into the train or in front of the train.
Oh yeah.
And so
I caught myself thinking that the train was gonna
go first.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, oh well, I'll just let the enemy be in front of the train, because in that way the train's just gonna run them over. And that'll be
I
it.
was thinking the same thing.
And I was like, no, that's not how it works. All right.
Yeah, I kept running. The thing I run into the problem is, it's like I always have an enemy that's attacking the train and an enemy that is standing in front of the train, and it's like, okay, I gotta move this character, but also it's like I have to waste 2 turns dealing with these 2 things. And then oftentimes what happens is my third teammate has to choose between which of these other 3 enemies do I want to hit, so I don't take 3 hits of damage, And so I don't know. The train has always been my least favorite. I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. And what was your least favorite island?
Definitely the 4th one.
Oh, the industrial one?
Yeah. When I first got to it, the acid really confused me.
Oh yeah.
I didn't understand, because it wasn't like fire where you get, you move onto the square. I think it's the first mech or even enemy that touches the square is the one that's poisoned.
Yeah. So say that again.
I think when you hover over it and you look at the details, it says something about the first unit that steps onto that tile with acid on it is the one that's affected by it.
Yeah. So when you move a mech on a square, it takes all of the acid, and so when it moves off, it's no longer a puddle there.
And it may have been one of the, I think they're scions. Is that what they're called? The
little balloon looking.
It may have been one of their effects that was causing it. Is there one that causes acid or something like that once enemies are killed?
Not that I'm aware of. When you kill an enemy that is covered in acid, it leads to acid.
Okay,
that may be.
I think that's what it was then. I was killing an enemy, while they were near a building or something like that, and rather than just killing the enemy, it sprayed acid on the building too.
Gotcha.
So there were just some confusing things about that level. I like the idea with the conveyor belts, but yeah, after I got to that one the first couple of times, I just started going for the 3 island.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm never playing this one.
Because not to this game isn't super easy, but easy is feels way easier than normal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Normal, I was barely getting to the 2nd island, but on easy, I was getting to the 4th island every time, or a 3rd island, and then going straight to the final battle.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Greg? What was your favorite island?
Probably the desert one. I would say, just because that gave you an opportunity to. I guess you get more opportunities to use smoke there than you do. I guess normally. And then, I guess the I don't know if I have a most hated one, but I guess if I would say one, it would be that industrial one. But I mean, I didn't hate it, but I guess it was just the least like one.
My favorite is the ice one, and my least favorite was the desert.
How come you didn't like the desert one?
Because of the smoke. There's the reasons you guys liked it. So all the other statuses, it's I can play with being, on fire. I can play with being covered in poison. I can play with I can play with being frozen. You can't do anything when you're in the smoke. Like
Right.
you can't attack, you can't heal, and like there's so many times where I'm playing mechs that do a lot of like area effect or whatever, and so it like limits where I can do turns, and like you're literally removing grids that you can use as you're playing. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I can use them and push enemies into them, but if I get stuck in one, or if I create one, then it's a wrap. Because then I have to use somebody to free that mech, so then, you know, and I hate having to use, like, I will, obviously, but I don't like having to bail out a mech with another mech. I like each one to kind of handle themselves. Obviously, that's not, you know, like, possible all the time. But it's just like I want each one to be kind of self-sufficient, and on the desert levels that was usually not the case. And then just the other thing with the desert levels is they don't really have any, like, I like trying to play around water, and there was very few water levels just because it's the desert, you know, or levels with water. And then like some of the other like statuses, I also like playing with fire. And there was like no vegetation or anything on those, so like you couldn't really create fire. I guess you could. I take that back. You can, but
don't they have like a volcano or something like that in the desert? I want to say. Okay, maybe I'm just misremembering.
But
there was
like
one,
it's just
there's like a thing you have to protect that can shoot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I forgot what it was called.
But yeah, like it. I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite. Now, honestly, like like the ice one, I just really like that mechanic and playing that way. Like being able to basically end somebody's turn if you get them frozen, or you know, playing around that strategy where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get frozen because I have no other opportunity, but it's gonna block this person's attack, and then I'm gonna be unfrozen without having wasted a turn. Like I really like that mechanic sometimes too. And then probably honestly my second favorite was probably the mechanical level. Playing with and I was with you guys though. Like when I first played this game, I didn't really care for the industrial kind of mechanical world, but for whatever reason, when I was playing it this time, especially on normal, it's very clutch, especially early on, because you're like getting a lot more opportunities to do double damage when you just can't like. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do enough damage in order to kill somebody because there's, you know, that aspect. The poison, it's super helpful for that. And then also, like one of my favorite missions was the one where you use the mountain destroyer to shoot acid.
Oh yeah,
that was maybe my favorite like mission in the game, and yeah, just being able to play that one was really cool. That was really fun, unique to that island objective.
So King Zone 87 on Twitch says his favorite island was the desert island too. And he said the ice island gets bothersome because of all the ice spots.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I didn't like about... I didn't understand how those... the objective where you have to freeze a bot and defend it. I didn't understand how that worked, because the thing that you have to use to freeze the bots, unless you have the squad that can freeze other mechs or freeze other enemies... like you can't move that thing.
Yeah, you can.
It wasn't giving me that option.
You have to. What do you mean? You just select it.
Yeah, whenever I selected it, I didn't have the option to move it. Because like I would freeze one, and then on the next turn I would try to move it so I could get to another one, because it usually puts it like in the very corner of the map. So you don't have a choice but to move it.
Did it get damaged?
I don't believe so.
That's weird. I like that one because in comparison, there's other objectives. I guess we're saying this now, but where there's another, you get like a fourth teammate, you know, and so like on the ice world, there's this tank that shoots ice, and it has a pretty good range, but it only can take one hit of damage or something like that. And then I think on the first level, there's like an artillery, like it's like those Humvees that shoots rockets out. of them, and those don't move that far, but they do a decent amount of damage over 2 squares. And so like those missions where you have an additional teammate are usually pretty fun as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the ice one. I'm not sure, Trevor. That's weird. I have to watch you play it on Twitch. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Is there anything?
Do we want to talk about the final island, or?
Yeah, we can talk about the final island. So, what do you think?
So, just for a little bit of context, like in order to get to the final island, which is kind of like the boss level, or the final boss
In a
for the game,
volcano.
yeah, you can go straight to it after completing the second island that you choose.
Yeah.
So once you complete once you've unlocked all the islands, you can go to them in any order. And once you complete 2 of them, you have the option to go to the final island.
I actually just thought of one more thing to say before we get onto this.
Yeah.
Once you clear an island, you get to spend your currency.
Oh,
and you
yeah.
get access to the store. And like after you beat each level, you're getting currency when you do objectives. And occasionally you'll get like a reactor, which you use to upgrade your mech. But at the end of the level, you get to spend your reputation, which you've been accruing throughout the entirety of the island, and you can purchase more reactors to further upgrade your mech. You can purchase grid defense to upgrade your defense of these buildings, or you can purchase, I think it's usually designated as 4 or 5 abilities. And these abilities, they're random every time, but they're usually like an ability for each of your different mechs, as well as sometimes there's a passive. So each mech can have up to 2 abilities equipped. So every mech at least comes with whatever their ability, their main weapon or whatever is, their main attack. And then usually you can, most mechs have a free slot that you can attach another ability to them. And each one of the things we never said is there's 4 classes of mechs. There's range. There's I can't think of the other 3. Brute was one, ranged, and I forgot the other 2. But they each have their science. So brute, science, ranged, and one other one. Prime. Those are the 4. Yeah. So each class has access to certain attacks. Otherwise, like if you try to use a prime ability on a science mech, it's more expensive in order to you have to use more reactors in order to attach that ability. So it's not necessarily the best route to go. Because reactors are once you upgrade your mech and once you install a reactor to a mech, it's locked to that mech. So it doesn't behoove you to kind of keep on fixing things and tweaking them. But one of the things I do like is that you can tweak your reactors on a specific mech. Did you end up using that at all, Trevor?
Oh yeah. So I was gonna ask, did y'all upgrade your mechs like throughout the islands, or did you only do them at the end of each island?
Throughout.
Okay.
Yeah, throughout.
If you mean.
No, I waited until the end. Like once I had the option to buy more upgrades, that was when I did all of my upgrades before going to the next island.
You can tell you were playing on easy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let me tell you, there was, I can't even count how many times where I'm like, thank God I upgraded my damage after I finished the last level, because I scraped by this map on the skin of my teeth, and it was like, there was so many times where it's like, where I got like, I got a pod or whatever, and it had a reactor and an ability, and then the very next level, I'm like, damn, I should have attached that ability. I need it so many times. Or it was like, damn, I shouldn't have been stingy, because, it's like, oh, I have 2 reactors and I can upgrade this mech, but if I get one more, I can put these 3 to upgrade this other one. And I'm like, let me go ahead and save it. And then, of course, the next time I'm like, damn, I should have, if I could have done just a little bit more damage, then like so many times. So I was just like, I'm never like purposely hoarding reactors unless I'm like, saving up for a specific ability. That's funny. Did you want to get into the final mission now?
So in the final island, and that's after you've completed however many islands you want to after the second one, you get the option to go to the final one, which is, I guess, like the it's more of like the race against time part of the story in this game. I know we haven't talked about the narrative in this game at all, but this is kind of like the climax of it, where you're basically delving down into a volcano, killing Vec, and I don't know if it's a huge spoiler, but are there 2 or 3 levels that you go down?
Well, you start on the outside, and
right?
Then you do 1 level down, so it's just the 2, I guess.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking 3, but yeah, you're basically fighting these Vec while you deal with environmental actions, which could be like falling debris or lava could be flowing, and there's a lot more so than some of the other islands that you've been on, which you can use to your advantage. Usually there aren't any optional objectives, so that's one less thing you have to worry about. You can pretty much just kind of defend I guess they're like power pylons or something. You can defend those, and then the final objective is to defend a bomb that's been placed. That's basically going to destroy all the Vec. And once you defend that, you teleport to a different, or not teleport, but you
time travel. Time travel. Yeah, so like the at the end you find out that you're playing one of infinite timelines with this pilot, and so what happens is you save this timeline, and then all 3 of the mechs or pilots or whoever's alive, you just see these things happening, and sorry, so you see these pilots basically warping out of their mech, and then what happens is when you finish the game, you choose one of the pilots you want to continue on with, and then you choose a new squad, and then you're starting back over again. It's like it's really cool. It's really cool because you see when they're warping, they're like their chat bubbles are coming up, and it's like, it's been a pleasure. Hope I see you in the next timeline, or things like that. And it's just like they're talking to each other and wishing everybody well, and it's just really cool. But I really like that hook as a way of justifying you being able to the experience you got not being for nothing. I really like that.
And it actually reminded me of this game called, and the gameplay is completely different, but I don't know if y'all ever played Super Time Force.
That's Greg, if anybody.
It sounds familiar. I'd have to look it up.
Oh damn!
Hold on, let me see. Oh yeah, this was one of the early PlayStation Plus game, or something like that. Yeah.
It was early on in the previous gen, I guess, PlayStation 4. Actually, it was on 360. I didn't know that. But yeah, you're basically playing this military group, or I think there might be mercenaries too, but they travel through time, and every time you die, you pretty much kind of reset.
I thought this was a cool little way to justify it too, so I really dug it. But yeah, What was it like the very first time you guys played on the final island?
I don't know. Like, it was definitely like the first time I beat it. It was. I mean, I was still on easy, but it was definitely on a like, oh man, like this might be this might be where it ends right here. Because I think I was, I was down to two squad members. I forgot how one of them died, and then I can't remember if on that last stage if you have to worry about your power level. I don't know if you still have to there, do you?
Like the
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. So I think I was almost like I was down to the last little bit on that. So it was like, all right, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, but yeah, I actually finished it that first time, and I was like, man, that felt pretty good.
It felt good.
Yeah.
What about you, Trevor?
The first time I got to this, that was pretty much when I hit a stride in this game, and I had so many upgrades to my mechs and my pilots. I just breezed through it. I think I was using the Blitzkrieg squad, but
The one you hate?
man, so I probably spent the most time with that one, and I spent a lot of time with them on normal, because I was trying to unlock the next.
Oh, gotcha.
And then once I switched to easy, it like I said, this game was almost trivial after trying so hard on normal, and that was when I was up till like 1 o'clock in the morning, like, oh, I think I got it now, and I did all 4 islands, and then went to the final island. So I mean, I was using pretty much everything at my disposal.
I know for me, I think I'm assuming, Greg, when you got on the last level, how many islands had you completed?
I did all of them.
Okay.
At that point, yeah.
So the reason why I was asking is because typically, because you've completed 4 islands, you will have gotten more experience and more reactors, so your mechs will be further along. So the game kind of tracks like, was this a two island run? Was this a 3 island run? Or was this a 4 island run? And you can kind of like get medals and whatever, and with these different mechs when you do runs that are 2, 3, or 4 islands. But usually the 4 island run is, I would say, they're easier. I don't know how you guys feel. Your mechs are a lot stronger, but I feel like they do a good job of balancing. So like usually if you're doing a 2 island run, the last island or the boss island is I feel like a little bit easier. The enemies don't have quite as much damage and don't do as much damage as if you did it. So they do scale it up, but I just feel like your mechs are so much stronger that it doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of, am I going to get overwhelmed? And you guys probably didn't experience on easy as much, but like on the normal and on hard, a lot more enemies spawn, so you're dealing with more damage that you can, or more enemies you have to interact with, but also more damage that you're going to end up taking. But maybe not as much the case on easy. Trying to think. Yeah, I actually, before we recorded, I just did a 4 island run on hard, and that was the first time ever that I had beaten the game on hard, and it was my first try, and I was like super proud. And like I said, I think when I had started playing this again, I was playing on easy, and I think I told Trevor this, but like I was maybe winning 10 or 15% of the time that I would play. And now, like when I play on normal, I feel like I've gotten good enough now that I can win like I would say 90% of the time. And now I'm like, okay, I think now I'm finally good enough or like knowledgeable enough that I can play on hard now. And so even though like there's definitely squads that I prefer over other squads, I do feel like I'm overall at a knowledgeable enough level now that I can probably use any squad and beat it on hard. Maybe not consistently or anything like that, but I'm going to work on trying to get there and being able to do it consistently on hard. That's my next goal.
My next goal is just to unlock all the achievements. for each squad.
Oh yeah, I'm working on that too. I'm one achievement away, so then I can unlock the last squad. Do you foresee yourself continuing on with this, or even just maybe not like at the way you had been playing it for the podcast, but do you foresee yourself like maybe messing with this game every now and then, or even after this podcast? Like, are you going to play a little bit now, this weekend?
Are you just asking either of us?
Both of you guys. Oh, it's important to me.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be just a kill time game for me. Like, I think once I get my Switch, I don't know if you were around when I was talking about, I ended up buying a Switch. So once I get that,
hey, welcome to the game.
I'll probably start playing it on that, and yeah, I can see myself dumping a lot of time into it that way.
12 months later. I'm actually like, I think you'll have a lot more fun with this game on Switch, because like I said, like this is the perfect like you said, damn near like I'm surprised this isn't a phone game, but like this is the perfect like phone game style where it's just like, okay, I can do it, knock out a couple of turns, or knock out a couple of maps while I'm waiting for this thing to happen or whatever. So yeah, I definitely think that having this game on Switch is really beneficial for you getting better at this game.
Yeah.
What about you, Trevor?
Oh yeah, I'll probably play it some more before the end of the year, before putting it away. I am enjoying it, so I will most likely get my money's worth out of it.
Man, won't they do it? I never thought. Oh man, I'm so glad that both of you guys like this game.
So one thing we haven't talked about is the squads, and I guess we don't have to go into all of them.
Yeah.
But y'all want to talk about favorites, least favorites?
Yeah. So, briefly touching on it, we kind of alluded to it earlier today, but like the squads are basically your tool. And each squad, like you start off with we said that basic one that was pretty like a good introductory, kind of gave you the fundamentals. And then you have to complete achievements and just basically earn coins in order to be able to purchase more squads. And I think total there's 8 squads, I think. And did you guys end up unlocking all the squads, or
no? I still need to unlock them all.
How many? Do you know how many you did unlock?
4, I believe.
4. Okay. And what about you, Trevor?
Yeah, I unlocked all of them and did at least a 3 island round on all of them except for one.
Well, you didn't unlock the secret squad, right?
Well, I guess 2 then. You said there are 8, so
I think there should be 8.
There's 8, and then the secret squad. So
yeah.
I unlocked the 8.
Okay. So yeah, I'm with you, Trevor. The only way you can unlock the secret squad, you can either like use all your coins early on and do it that way, or you basically you have to like in order to have everything unlocked, you have to do all the achievements. So I've done all but one achievement, so I've got I need one more coin in order to get the secret squad. But each of these squads have their unique play style. So we were saying with the first one that you start off with, it's pretty balanced. All the squads do damage. All the squads kind of teach you the fundamentals of the game. But then you can start seeing, especially if the second squad, I think the second squad too, like if you go in order, is the Rusting Hulk squad, I think. That's the second one
on the list.
But you can unlock them in any order you want. You just have to have enough coins to unlock them. So you could unlock the Blitzkrieg one, which is Trevor's alluding to. But each of those squads play completely different than the first squad. So like the first one, everybody can do damage and everybody kind of interacts, and it's a pretty balanced squad. And the Rusting Hulks, one of the squads doesn't do damage at all. All it does is just push everything around it. Another squad is like a range, kind of like mortar style, and another one is an airplane. But the pull with this squad is it leaves smoke behind. Mm-hmm. So like when you shoot the artillery or the mortar shot, it leaves a little bit of smoke behind it when you upgrade it, but it also, its impact area causes smoke. And then the same thing with the plane, it does like a hopping attack, and the area that it does damage leaves smoke. And then there's a passive that's attached to one of those mechs that when enemies are in a grid that has smoke, not only do they not see, but they also take damage. So basically, this is one of those squads where you're slowly closing the map in on the opponent, and like you're creating squares where not only can they not attack, but they're going to take damage there too. So like that's a completely different playstyle than the first one, and I think the squad does a really good job of kind of teaching you about playing around the map and positioning, because there's going to be times like depending. I don't know if you guys ever ran into this where it's like, oh crap, I put all this smoke down and now I can't do anything. Like I can't shoot from this area, or because like I think the other squads, that the first squad, you just do damage straight on. Like you can be standing right next. You have to be standing right next to the squad or lined up with it. But like in this one, the way the jet, you had to be able to jump to the other side of the enemy you're attacking, which was like completely different. And so I don't know. I thought that squad was really nifty and like really cool at teaching you another playstyle. And then Trevor's favorite, the Blitzkrieg.
Yeah, they well, I don't know if it's my favorite exactly. Like I said, I just spent the most time with them, so yeah. I got really used to their playstyle, and I didn't find another squad that had anything like the Boulder mech. I mean, that's just a really unique
mech
to use. I mean, just because there's nothing, there aren't any mechs that do anything similar to that one.
I mean, like, if we're being honest, I feel like the best things about this game is like, I feel like every mech is unique.
Yeah.
It's like, even like, I think Greg said something before about there was this one mech that it had a grapple hook and it would pull enemies, it wouldn't do any damage, it would pull enemies right to you. And then there was another mech on a different squad that did the same exact thing, but it only pulled at one square. And like those played completely different, you know, and especially in the context of the mech or the squad too, because the hook with the Blitzkrieg is the main mech is the lightning mech, and it has this lightning whip, and it did damage on anything it was standing by, but because it was attacking with electricity, you could basically, if you could chain together a lot of damage by having enemies grouped up together, and even using buildings, where you could swing on if you were on one side of a row of buildings and the enemy was on the other side, you could attack the building and not do any damage to it, but it would do damage to the enemy. And you could also set up some sticky situations where you're doing damage through your mechs to the enemies as well. And I agree with you. It's a super, super interesting playstyle. And that's when I realized I needed to get better at this game when I first played this mech. Because I'm like, hold up, how'd he die? So many times.
And it's funny because this was actually the second one that I unlocked after, or the first one I unlocked.
I remember it. You said, I don't like this squad.
I was playing it on normal. And I was just like, man, what am I doing wrong? I can't even get past the first island on this one. And then once I did switch to easy, I mean, I just like breezed through with this squad.
Yeah, and then they have like other, like, we don't have to go through all the squads, but there's the Steel Judoka, and it's like a kind of like a grapple, a grapple class.
That's one of my favorites too.
And then they had the what was the next one? Zenith Guard, where they played around with one of the mechs had a laser, and another one you had to ram into enemies, and you did damage to yourself when you did an attack.
That's the one I liked.
Really? You like that
one? Yeah, because it had the defense mech, so you could also
shield up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was it was cool. Like one of the things you could do. There's a couple of different mechs. I think there's 2 or 3 that do their default attack does damage to itself. Well, there was a specific pilot that he came with his ability was 1 point of armor. So any of the self damage at the base level, like when you're low level, where it did -1 damage to your mech, you would just do no damage. So you never had to worry about healing up or anything with those mechs. And it was super. It's like a super good like, oh, I'm going to use this dude if I'm playing one of these squads for sure. Let's see, what's the other? Oh, the Flame Behemoths was another one where their whole gameplay revolved around doing fire.
Trash.
And like, really?
Man, I could not stand that squad.
I love that squad because like all the other squads took fire damage, but this one didn't. And I just really, really love. You were talking about unique with the boulder mech. I really love the swap mech. That's the one that you could teleport people.
I never
swap places.
I never had any situations where it was useful.
Oh, dude, so many situations. Like you could do it over bodies of water because it was a flying mech. You could do it when you upgraded it. You could do it over more than one square. So like when that thing is fully upgraded, you could literally teleport. You could swap positions with somebody halfway across the map. So like you were guaranteed like at the lower levels, the mech isn't that good. But once you get higher up and you put some reactors on it, it becomes so OP where you could just literally like teleport something into a body of water halfway across the map. It's a guaranteed kill, like every time. Or like if there was anything you had to defend that was movable, like the prototype bombs or anything, you could just teleport with that thing and get it out of. And especially I liked playing that specific mech with the pilot that you could do an attack and then move one more square, so you could like swap an enemy into another thing to take damage and also move out of the way. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I love that squad. That's probably my second favorite squad. My favorite squad is the Ice Squad, the Frozen Titans.
I didn't care for that one either.
I love that squad. I think the one with the shield is probably my favorite mech in the game because it just makes me think of Taskmaster. But he had an attack that it did damage, and then it flipped the enemy's attack. So if they were attacking north, it would flip it to south or vice versa. So that was really cool. Then they had a tank that shot out both ends, and then they had a mech that would freeze enemies, but then it also would freeze itself. And so like that's a mech for really good. That squad is really good for teaching you how to do your turn order, because then you could always freeze your use your ice mech and then use the cannon one and shoot at your ice mech to unfreeze it still, so you don't have to waste a turn unfreezing it. Or you could also kind of use it like the boulder mech that you like, Trevor, where you freeze somebody, but you freeze yourself on top of like where the ground is, emerging. So you're blocking and you get basically a free hit, a free hit of damage, mm-hmm. Without like it. Basically, the mech emerging breaks you out of the ice and you don't take any damage. So I really that mech taught me like I love that mech, that class, I should say, or that squad.
I like the concept of it, but the ice mech got on my nerves. Like I wish it didn't like freeze you for the duration of the battle.
Oh, you just would have to heal up.
Yeah, I know, but
I
hated that.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it teaches you have to like play around, and positioning is kind of important with that mech. One of the things that I think there was one of the mechs or pilots that when you got you got to do 2 actions on a turn. So like you could end a turn frozen, and then when you start your next turn, you could heal and then shoot again. And so like you could always do like two things in one turn with that particular pilot, and that was very helpful.
Wait, you're saying you could heal and that would break the ice?
That breaks the ice.
Oh,
yes.
see, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It took me a little bit too, so I was thinking the same thing as you, where it's like, I guess I'm frozen the whole time.
Why am I putting one of my mechs out of commission in the middle of battle? Like, that doesn't sound strategic at all. Okay.
Yeah.
So on your next turn, you could just heal yourself, and then that...
Correct.
Okay. I might try out that squad again then.
I might.
I mean, I beat the game. You know, I did a 3-island run with them. So
supposedly, I have a thing up, and this person spent 100 hours of played 100 hours of the game and has 100% completion rate, and he ranked the squads, and he says the Frozen Titans is the best squad in the game.
Questionable.
Well, he said the Secret Squad and the Steel Judoka is the 2 worst.
What? Steel Judokas was one of my favorites.
They suck in the beginning. I think it also just depends on the difficulty level too. And I'm not not knocking or whatever, but like
I did a 2-island run with them. That
squad is kind of rough early on because you're not doing any damage, and like on hard on normal it's tough. I can't imagine it on hard right now.
But they're not doing any damage to you.
Yeah, but you're not. You know how we were saying like, oh well, it's 3-on-3. Oh, it's 3-on. Well, then it becomes 3-on-7, and it's not necessarily them doing damage on you. It's doing damage on your buildings. Well, you'll see though. You'll see. Okay. And then the last squad is the hazardous squad, and they are interesting. I didn't really use them that much on PC. I didn't really like them, but I played them a bunch here on Switch, and I started liking them a lot more. And they were that squad was interesting because it was a mech that shot acid, and he did no damage, but it shot acid, and then the other 2 did damage to both the enemy and themselves. So they were pretty high damage, but like they did a decent amount of damage in the beginning, but they also took damage and they had low life. So, but the cool thing is there was a passive that one of that the poison mech had, that when you kill an enemy with one of those mechs, it regains life back. So, but only on killing hits. So it was kind of interesting sometimes where it's like, oh, like if I hit this enemy with this thing, I can get his life back. But he's not in a position to do that, so I have to kill him with his other one and just like waste a turn healing this mech or something like that. So like that one really taught you about positioning as well, because you had to utilize your poison mech to get like an enemy covered in acid or whatever, so that way you get the most amount of damage with a single attack with these other enemies or these other mechs. And those were just like super unique too. I felt like that hopping one, I thought that one was really cool. So what was your guys' favorite squad?
For me, it was probably Zenith Guard, or Blitzkrieg.
Mm-hmm.
Those probably like my 2 favorites.
Gotcha. And what was your least favorite?
Was it Rusting Hulks?
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't like the jet that much. I guess that was what was holding me up the most.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's really good when you level it up, but it sucks.
I was about to say, once you get the double jump.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I could see that being pretty good then.
Yeah. So what did you like about the 2 that you liked?
So for Blitzkrieg, I liked the boulder mech, like being able to either move enemies or like block them from coming out. That was probably like my favorite thing. And then the lightning, being able to take out like multiple targets with that.
Y'all just like the damage ones.
Yeah.
And then for what was it for Zenith? It was just being able to shield up, being able to shield up the buildings or like your teammates or whatever. So that was probably the most clutch thing for me.
Mm-hmm. So you could have your perfect runs.
Yeah.
And what about you, Trevor? What's your favorites?
It's between 4 of them, actually. I think I like all of them equally.
Okay.
I just spent more time with
Blitzkrieg
and Riftwalkers, the first one. So those are fun. Riftwalkers is really balanced. But still, Judoka's is... Judoka. Hope I'm saying that right. I just like that one because I don't take any damage. Like I'm basically just blocking every hit that the enemies throw at me.
It's only with that one.
Isn't that the one that has
the grapple one, the one that flips them?
Yeah.
I thought that was the only one.
Let me see. What did the other ones do?
Because the other one, it made enemies do an extra point of damage on each other.
Okay, I was thinking this one had the one that could put shields on buildings, or
oh no, that was the one Greg was talking about. That was the
is that Zenith.
Zenith, yeah.
Maybe I'm getting those two mixed up then.
That had the laser and the charging one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll give an honorable mention to Rusting Hulks. I know KingZone87 on Twitch said he liked that one too. That was his favorite. But this one was really fun because I was pretty much every run that I was doing, every time I unlocked a new squad, I was just going for the achievements so I could get more coins to unlock the next squad. And this one, to me, had really fun achievements, or at least the one with the electric smoke.
Yeah.
And then that was pretty much just my strategy throughout the rest of the timeline that I played with the Rusting Hulks, was just cover the entire map with smoke, push enemies into it.
That's another reason why I didn't like the desert level. It's like, because when you play this squad, it's like, oh, the smoke actually does damage, but then normally it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, well, that sucks. Because like fire always does damage. Acid always, makes you take twice as much damage, but the smoke doesn't always, cause damage. But yeah, like I already covered my two favorites were the Frozen Titans and the Flame Behemoths. And I'm surprised that you didn't like the Flame Behemoths, Trevor, just because, like you were just saying with the Rusting Hulks, like they had a squad, like their objective was pretty similar. It was just like get everything on fire and
it was just the
do a
swap
bunch of damage.
Yeah, I was just never in situations where it was useful.
That hurts. But yeah, like that was always those two are my favorite. And then least favorite was probably either the Steel Judoka or I think really that's the only one. I would probably say Blitzkrieg too, honestly. I'm not as fond of that as you guys are, because there's just too many situations that I've found myself in where it's just like, oh well, I'm gonna have to sacrifice, and maybe I should probably play the squad this way and like not care about the pilots. But there's just too many times where I was just like, well, I could kill every enemy, but then I'll lose this mech or I'll kill this pilot, or I could, and it's just like, I hate having to make that decision. But it happens so many times when I play this squad. Did you say your least favorite, Greg?
I feel like I didn't have a least favorite because I hadn't unlocked everything yet, but I guess like I don't know, like Riftwalkers would probably be like maybe my least favorite. I mean, they're good and they're like super, yeah, they're like super functional or whatever, but they don't have like a lot of fun tools, right? It's just kind of by the number stuff, right?
One of my favorite things with that one was like after you clear an island, like going through the shop, and like they're random things that you unlock, but I feel like in the shop they're a little bit more catered to at least being in the same class as your mechs. And I liked getting with the punching mech. I don't remember the name of it. Let's see, what is it called? The combat mech. Where you upgrade it to do the bionic arm, the dash punch.
Yeah.
Getting rocket punch too. So then, like, being able to do, like, I can either, like, I got it a couple times where it was like, I could do a bionic arm and just dash punch and across the screen and kill somebody, or I could do something where I just shoot my fist and I move back a square and I can hit something behind me. And that was always super satisfying to, like, if I so happen to get the rocket punch as well, then just being able to, like, have those options. It was really, like, the sweet spot in this game is, like, getting, like, a ability that is super sick and, like, having a wealth of riches where it's like, now this mech can address this situation and this situation. Like, that was one of my favorite things about longer runs of this game. Unfortunately, it was random, so you can always, and there's enough variety in the abilities too, so you're not like always getting the same flavor of mech. There was one other thing. Shoot, what was I gonna say? I can't remember now. Oh yeah, it didn't change the aesthetic of your mech, and I kind of wish like you could like. If I equipped like the electric whip on my combat mech, I wish he was holding that or something like that. Or like I know it's stupid, but like I wish it was like you had some type of visual representation. Because you could also, I don't know if you guys ever did this, but if you ever got a mech and then just got rid of its main ability, like with the ice mech, I remember the very first time I played it, I didn't understand it. So the first time I got like a different ranged ability, I just started using that instead, and then I ended up selling the ice part. And it doesn't change the way your mech looks or anything, and I think that would have been a cool touch, but whatever, two people made this game, so I ain't holding it against them.
Right.
You got anything else, Trevor or Greg? We've been long, but well deserved.
The music in this game sounds like menu music.
Is that good or bad?
It's fine.
Really? Huh.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I turned the music off, and I would just either listen to podcasts or I would be listening to just playlists while I was playing this.
That is my preferred way of playing any handheld games. Is usually to have like a podcast going in the background or whatever. But I'm not saying this music is like dope or like banging or anything like that. It's no bops on here. But I think it really does set the mood. One of the things that I saw for this game, the guy that did the music for this game, Ben Prunty, also did the music for FTL. He also did a remix of one of the bonus levels of Celeste, because I remember telling you guys and being super excited about it when we recorded, because I recognized his name and it sounds like him too, and I was like super impressed where it sounded like FTL and Celeste at the same time. But he I had this in the it was on Wikipedia. It said, like with FTL, Prunty and Subset wanted to use a style of music not normally associated with the narrative genre, but had difficulty in deciding which direction it should go, particularly that they felt that music for a strategy game should be soft and quiet. Ma shared with Prunty two cellos tank on Hans Zimmer Mombasa from Inception, the movie, which gave Prunty the inspiration to create the game's first music track, which was used in the game's teaser trailer. And then that was kind of like his jumping off point. So he wanted to make like a soft and kind of quiet, kind of like you said, Trevor, with it being kind of menu music. Mm-hmm. But I do think that he kind of, and this is me being biased, but like FTL sounds like when you listen to the music he makes, it's very, to me, evocative of like space and like outer space. And to me, this music now is like associated when I think of like mechs and stuff like that. I think this game does have like a military kind of feel to it, and sometimes it does feel a little ominous, but in a good way. Like there's danger lurking and things like that. But as far as like strategy music goes, I feel like it pretty much nails it. But it's also like not like a genre of game where I'm like, this music has to be good or else, you know?
Yeah, it's like I'm not saying it's bad, you know. I'm just saying
Sure.
It's there.
Yeah. It's not banging tracks like on Left Trousers.
I mean, I did like the sound design on this game. Like I think just the sound effects and
Yeah.
like I think that was great. Just the music in this game just wasn't as memorable.
Well, I like it. Don't think it's the best though, so I feel you. It does the job. Anything else? No? Okay. So, are you cool with this game and like you like it more than Advance Wars?
Oh yeah, by a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Do you think some of it just has to do with? I mean, I think Advance Wars is still like how it is, like even the later ones. But do you think it's just like because they took like modern approaches to things, or it's just like the game is just so completely different? And it's like,
to me, it feels more pick up and play in short bursts than Advance Wars does. I mean, maybe there are some fights in Advance Wars that just don't take that long, but I don't recall it being that way necessarily. But like this, I feel like you're in and out. You can bang out like a couple missions or whatever in like 10 minutes or whatever, like just be in and out. So whereas I feel like you can't accomplish as much in Advance Wars like that.
yeah. Trevor?
Wait, you're asking me if I think it's
Yeah, like I know you like this game and you like it more than Advance Wars, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's I don't know how else. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'm not gonna talk trash on Advance Wars anymore.
Okay.
I know Dante's probably listening.
I don't think he had anything particular. I mean, I know he enjoyed it, but I don't think he was like, you can't talk bad about this game or whatever. Not like the people that were suggesting the game.
Oh yeah, that's.
So you guys both said you guys are intending to continue on playing the game?
Oh yeah, I think the achievements are challenging enough and rewarding enough to try to go for all of them, and then unlock the last squad.
Does this game build any desire or interest in trying out FTL?
I've played FTL.
Does this game build any desire or interest for you guys to try and play FTL?
Is FTL like this?
FTL is not like this. It is.
All right.
Okay. I tried. So that was one of the things when I was super hyped when this game came out, and I was talking about it all over social media and everything. And I feel like I have many friends, but only like 4 or 5 of them, whenever I used to nerd out about FTL and talk about it on social media, would like ever entertain me. And so everybody just knows that I'm a huge FTL fan. And when this game was coming out and came out and I was playing, I was like, oh, both of these games are equal. I love them both. I can't tell which one I like more. Blah, this and this and this. And like all those people that I knew that played FTL, like I think the only other person that I know that's played Into the Breach is my brother. And it's so sad. It was so sad. It was like, damn, like FTL, like in my life, it's like 5 people out of I don't know how many hundreds of people I know. So it's like, 2% of the people I know in my life played FTL, and then it was like Into the Breach. It was like, oh, it's me and one other person, less than 1%, and it's just like, damn, there's not even a Venn diagram between these two groups of people. But yeah, that was something that I was just curious if you guys had any interest in like checking out any of their other game to see if that struck a chord with you guys. And I will say here that as much as I like this game, I think I can finally, after putting way more time in it now, I can say with definitiveness that I think I like FTL more, and I think it's a better game than Into the Breach. I think the highs are more high and the lows are more low in FTL.
I don't remember a lot from what I played because it's been a few years.
There's I think the game is way harder, or I shouldn't say way harder. It is. I feel like it's more of a challenge to learn, and I feel like the game is more punishing. FTL does not. I don't mean this in like a dismissive way, because I don't think Into the Breach does either. But FTL does not hold your hand at all. Like, they basically show you, okay, here's the tutorial, and then you're on your own. And I feel like Into the Breach does a better job of teaching you the game and like you learning and building upon that stuff. I feel like it's pretty natural in Into the Breach. I don't necessarily feel the same way in FTL. FTL is also like just like a longer game, like less pick up and play friendly than Into the Breach, and I feel like the last boss in FTL, like I don't know how many times that you guys got to the last boss on or did the last mission on Into the Breach and failed, but like you're gonna fail a lot in FTL. There's a lot of failure in that game. Anything else? All right, Trevor, great game, great experience?
Yeah, I'll say great game, great experience.
Greg, great game, great experience?
Yeah, definitely a great game, great experience. It's going to be high up on the list of...
Let's go! Let's go!
I got to balance it out, so I'm just going to drop it a few.
Man, I'm so happy. Oh, man. Finally. Not only did I bring some people over to the light side, but they actually enjoyed it. I was talking so much cash shit. It's like, we about to play the #1 game, boys.
You forgot we played Ostra's Wrath this year. So.
We're about to play the #1 game, boys. But yeah, like, I was like, I get very confident and cocky about the things that I like, and feel like I have great taste and stuff, and people just don't have as good a taste as me.
Oh, speaking of not having the same taste as you, Dante says he fell off FTL super fast.
Well, Dante, if you want me to watch you and give you some tips, then I got you. But yeah, like, I don't know, it's just, it's good to hear that, like, hey, I think you will like this game. You should play it. It's pretty fun. And, like, it actually worked out for a change, Because normally it'd be a game like FTL, which is, like, like, I don't think that game is for everybody. I think that game is, there are going to be people, Dante probably will be one of those people, you probably too, Trevor, where it's just like, you know what? I get it. I understand it, but it's not for me. But I think Into the Breach is just a better made game, and I feel like it's a more, like... If when you get it, and it kind of digs its heels in there, its claws in on you. Yeah, so I'm obviously going to say great game, great experience. Like I said, this is, like I'm out here saying like, oh, it's not as good as FTL, but like both of those games are definitely in my top 15, if not top 10, all games, both of those games. So I love this game, love it. Was there anything, I just thought of this, was there anything that either of you guys would want to change about the game that you think would make you enjoy it more?
Maybe more islands, but who knows? Maybe that's something that they'll add further down the road. I don't know, but that's it, really.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to say I feel like it's the perfect game, but I do feel like it's very, very, very well made. And like even you can play a run 10 times, same squad, same pilot, same everything. But like each level, each map, the things that you're gonna have to deal with are gonna be different. And then also when you clear an island, like the unlockables, there's enough diversity in the weapon types and just the things that the equipment type that you get, that you find that you can create different flavor of mechs every time, where you could play the same mech 10 times, and every time one of his two abilities is going to be completely different and just like make you play a different way.
Yeah, that like when we were playing D&D the other night, and our DM mentioned he loved the game and how it was that was the first time I heard it referred to as a roguelike. And I didn't even think about it that way at first, but it definitely has like roguelike elements to it. I guess it's more of a roguelite.
Yeah, I will say that, yeah.
So, but yeah.
FTL is a roguelike, and Into the Breach is a roguelite. Yeah. So, yeah, I kind of piggybacking off Greg, what he had said is I just wish that there was more content, and I don't even know, like more islands would be cool. Maybe more squads, but honestly I feel like you got enough diversity with the squads you got. Like I remember thinking like, man, like if I could make my own squad with if I was a developer and I was to add a new squad, like what would I want it to be, and would it not just be a combination of what they already have?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, I think I made this same thing with another game we played, but it's like Tetris, where it's just like when the guy made Tetris, he had chose the correct number of pieces. If he had chose one more, the game would have felt different, and it wouldn't have been perfect.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same way with this, where it's like, what other ability could you really give these mechs that you already haven't covered with the bonus abilities that you can purchase?
And honestly, I'm just hesitant to say this game needs this or that, because I haven't fully explored everything this game has to offer anyways.
Sure.
Even when you were telling me about the
Healing.
frozen mech, yeah,
I
wasn't even aware of that. So
yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that you don't uncover with this game too, but like you just get it through osmosis or through experience. And so like I remember playing that mech many times and like not getting it, and then when I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, and then also like I said, one of the things I don't understand, because I feel like the games are pretty good, there are way more people that stream FTL than Into the Breach. So like oftentimes like on Twitch, like there's at any given time, like when I was watching them more regularly, you could probably find at least double-digit FTL streamers, and Into the Breach there was usually one or two at most, and it was just kind of like, I don't understand that, because I feel like Into the Breach is I think there's like it's not as hard. So like it feels like, I think maybe with strategy games too, like maybe it feels like like this is a single player experience. I'm just gonna enjoy this by myself. And for whatever reason, FTL, it seems like a more dynamic, like stream friendly game. But I do feel like it was very insightful early on Into the Breach to kind of watch streams and watch other people's strategies and kind of help me learn things as well. So I would definitely recommend anybody listen to this if they want to get into the Breach or just kind of see. I definitely recommend trying to peep some Twitch streamers if you can find any, or maybe we can get Trevor to stream it. Where can people find you at, Trevor.
You can find me on the internet at Lyric Unsung.
Where can people find you at, Greg?
You can find me on Twitter at Boombox Hero. Facebook should be the same, Boombox Hero, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Magnegro with a 0 instead of an O at the end.
Are you streaming anything?
All I've really been streaming is Street Fighter and Hearthstone, but I might try and stream a few runs of this.
Hey, if you do, hit me up.
I got
Hit
you.
me
I got
up.
you.
Because there's also a thing too to make it like it's an easy game to stream because they have this option that you can turn on the coordinates of the grid, so you can say like, oh yeah, so like I can be in the stream the chat and be like, move the combat mech to C4 and attack this, and yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I saw that and I was like, I want to have that on at all times, and so like I have it on when I'm playing, and it's just like I'm not streaming the game or anything, but it's just like I got in the habit of seeing it that way, so it looks naked without it. Are you streaming anything, Trevor? I know you said you hadn't been streaming a little bit.
No,
just
haven't streamed anything.
you gonna stream some lethally?
That would be fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the end of the show. We have, I think, did you guys end up doing your list?
No, I need to do it.
Okay. Maybe we can try to knock that out and have the list ready for tomorrow.
I can cook up something, yeah.
Or, I mean, I'm down to do it after this episode, too. You know what I'm saying?
Keep that thing on.
I'm always ready to... I always got a list on me. So next month we're having the last of the year. It is a guest choice game, and it was chosen by my brother. We gave him a couple of options, and he chose Greg's game, Katana Zero. So you guys pick that up if you're playing alongside with us. And like I said, we're going to get our lists going for next year. So we'll probably knock out the first couple of months and have an announcement for that for the next episode. But definitely you can check out the calendar on our Facebook page, facebook.com/misscheckpoints, and you can see the schedule when we post it with the next couple of months of games that will be. If you like tuning into Miss Checkpoints to find out about hidden gems, cult classics, and indie games, then share us with your friends, family, and the not shitty subreddit communities you're in. Comment on our Facebook page, add us on Twitter, leave us a review, preferably 5 stars on Apple Podcasts so we can appear higher in the leisure category. We obviously enjoy doing this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been, 3 years strong? 4 years strong? Something like that. And get an opportunity to, show my homies this game. Had to get a little bit of that Advance Wars in, and then 2 years later, I spring into the breach on
Long con.
Yeah, so now I gotta figure out what's the game I can say, hey, remember we played this? Go ahead and vote for FTL, bruh. But yeah, and as you saw, we had somebody hit us up and we shout them out or whatever on the show, and answer the question they had. So we like doing that stuff and love hearing from you guys. So tell us what you like about the episodes, what you agreed with, what you disagreed with, what you want us to play next. And with that, we're Miss Checkpoints and we're out. Peace.